Hello everyone, I'm Ina Man. Welcome to another special edition of Higher Ground. Often traditional media pits the tech industry against the resource industry here in BC. Tech and software development is celebrated as the new economy while resources are framed as the old. But is that true? Joining me today is Mansi Tandon. She's an electrical engineer and you'll be giving us the inside scoop of whether the resource industry is really something that the tech industry needs. What do you think right off the bat?
Oh yeah, there's huge interdependency between the resource sector and the tech industry. And like we all know, we cannot deny the fact that technology is pervading every industry in some way, shape or form. So there is quite a bit of an overlap, and they need to be feeding into each other. They cannot survive without the other.
So Mansi, let's just take it back a bit. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at UBC. I did electrical engineering, and I'd always been passionate about the intersection of technology with the social impact and the environmental impact side of things, and which is what led me to Nanozen.
So Nanozen is all about the tech industry and it's helping the resource industry. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So what we're doing at Nanozen is we're building real-time particle monitors that are to be used in resource industries and resource-intensive industries because these industries have a lot of dust, carcinogenic particles and other airborne particles that can cause dangerous explosions and even lead to respiratory diseases for the workers. So what we are trying to do is basically develop technology that will allow us to have some sort of a social and environmental impact so that these industries can operate sustainably.
Mansi, if the natural resource sector were to take a downturn, how would that affect your job or your industry?
Well, there obviously could be an impact, but at the same time, we have to remember that our technology is not just aiming at the resource sector vertical. We have other industries that we are aiming at, but there is an interdependency, so you can never deny that fact.
And what do you think when you hear complaints from people who are against the natural resource sector? How does that impact you and the job that you do?
I feel like we often forget the extent to which we depend on the resource industry. I mean, to be honest, like if it wasn't for the mining industry, we wouldn't really have the silica coming in or the semiconductors coming in, which would lead us to not being able to make the chips that we make for the consumer electronics. So basically, we are surrounded by things that are being extracted from the resource sector. And I guess the reason that people often forget or are alienated from that fact is because the younger generation has grown around technology. So they've almost been abstracted from what happens at the back end in the resource sector.
So what advice would you give those young people who don't quite understand how the two industries work together?
Well, if they're not aware of it, then they might not even try to find out what the dependency is. So forums where we can have open-ended, unbiased discussions about tech sector and the resource sector are very important.
Is that conversation not happening right now?
It is, but it's not as out in the open. Like, for instance, I don't think a lot of people are aware of how important the resource sector in BC is. I think it's important to not just trust one opinion and not the other. There needs to be because there's a very skewed perception of the resource sector, like we've been discussing, and that needs to be demystified.
And that's it for Higher Ground this week. Make sure to visit our website, resourceworks.com, sign up for our e-newsletter, and don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For ResourceWorks, I'm Ina Man. Thanks for watching.